In today's video, we're going to do a quick unboxing and setup of Ubiquiti's EdgeRouter 6P. Welcome to the channel. My name is Tony. If this is your first time with us, please subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell so that you're alerted to when I release new content. Let's get started with the unboxing. Okay guys, so today we're going to be unboxing and doing a basic setup of the EdgeRouter Model 6P. So we're looking at the front of the box now. Let's take a look at the rear of the box. On the rear of the box, you can see a picture of the EdgeRouter inside the rack mount kit, which I have here and I'll show you in a few minutes. Included on the back of the box are some of the features. It features 5 gigabit 24 volt passive PoE ports, 1 gigabit SFP Ethernet port. It can be managed through UNMS. You also have a command line option. Inside the package, you get the router, the power adapter, a ground screw and cable clip, a wall mount kit, and a quick start guide. So that being said, let's open up the box and see what's actually inside. So inside the box, we have the EdgeRouter. Let's take that out. It's packaged nice with some protective styrofoam. We also have another box. We have a quick start guide. Power adapter. Supporting cable. Some mounting screws and hardware. And the ground screw and clip. Let's take a closer look at the unit itself. On the top, you can see the Ubiquiti logo and the model. All of this area here is vented for airflow. On the bottom of the unit, you have the Ubiquiti logo here, the serial number, a scan code. You have 4 feet for mounting on a desktop, and you also have wall mounting options as well. On the side of the unit, you probably can't see this, but you have more ventilation for airflow and screw holes for mounting in a rack, which we're going to show you the rack mount assembly shortly. The back of the unit, again, more air holes for ventilation and the power port for plugging in the power adapter. And finally, the front of the unit. Here you have a reset button, the 1 gigabit SFP port, your 5 PoE 24 volt passive PoE 1 gig Ethernet ports, USB 3, a console port, the EdgeRouter model information, the Ubiquiti logo, and all your status lights. Here's a quick view of the rack mount accessory. It fits the EdgeRouter 4 and the EdgeRouter 6P. It has an adjustable slide so that you can adjust it to fit the appropriate router. Here are the mounting brackets. You can see that I could slide them to adjust the size of the opening. So if we take the EdgeRouter and we just insert it in the opening and line up the holes on the sides of the unit, then simply slide the brackets up, put the screws in, and there you have your rack-mounted EdgeRouter 6P. That being said, I'll put affiliate links down in the video description for both these devices. Let's hop over to the computer and get this puppy set up using the setup wizard. Before we get into the actual physical setup of the EdgeRouter 6P, I just wanted to take a quick look at it on Ubiquiti's website. You can see here they have it listed on their site for $259 at the time of this video. I just picked this router up on Amazon a few days ago for $218.93. Scrolling down, the EdgeRouter 6P offers next generation price performance value up to 3.4 million packets per second processing with a line rate of up to 6 gigabits per second. It has 1 gigabit of RAM, 4 cores, 1 gigahertz per core. Here you see the device pictured in the rack mount accessory, model ER-RMKIT, and that is sold separately. And again, I just picked that up as well for about $19.99. That being said, let's get on with the setup process. Okay guys, so I have the EdgeRouter plugged in. I have my computer plugged into ETH0. The default address out of the box for the EdgeRouter is 192.168.1.1. The next thing to do is to set your computer's adapter card manually to an address in that same subnet. So you can see here I have my address manually set to 192.168.1.2 with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. I have my browser pointed to 192.168.1.1, which is the default address of the device. You can see here I'm getting your connection is not private, and that's okay. We're going to go ahead and click on advanced, and we're just going to say proceed to 192.168.1.1. And the first time you launch the router out of the box, you have to agree to the terms of the license agreement and sign in with the default password, username and password of UBNT. Next, we're presented with a screen that says router is in default config. Do you want to start with the basic setup wizard? And I'm going to go ahead and say yes for now. But instead of using the basic setup wizard, I'd like to use WAN plus 2LAN2. So we'll come over here to the setup wizards and choose WAN plus 2LAN2. I'm going to leave my WAN port on ETH0. You can choose from ETH0 or ETH5, the SFP port. For now, for this setup, I'm just going to leave it set to DHCP, but you can set a static IP, and this information you would get from your internet service provider. You can also use a PPPoE account, which is common in this area, in this neck of the woods. And basically you would get a username and password from your ISP and enter it here. But for the purpose of this video, it is in the lab. I'm just going to leave it set to DHCP. I don't want to enable internet connection on VLAN, but I do want to enable the firewall. Moving down, I am not going to bridge any of the interfaces into a single network. Now keep in mind, unlike the EdgeRouter X series, this particular router does not have a built-in switch. So the only way to combine the ports is to bridge the ports into one single network, but we're not going to do that now for this video. Let's come over to LAN ports on ETH1, and let's just leave this set to 192.168.1.1, but you can change the LAN IP address right here. We're going to enable the DHCP server. Let's take a look at the optional secondary LAN ports, ETH2. We'll just leave this set to 192.168.2.1, and again, we'll leave the DHCP server enabled. Coming down to user setup, so you have a couple of different options here. You could use the default username and password for this router, which I strongly suggest you do not do. We can create a new admin user, or we can keep the existing users. So I'm going to create a new admin user here. I'm just going to call the user Tony, and I'm just going to put in a password like that, and then I'm just going to go ahead and say apply. So once we go ahead and apply the changes, the router will reboot, and we should be able to sign in using the 192.168.1.1. The only thing we'll have to do differently is move our computer cable out of ETH0 and into ETH1. And then we can plug in ETH0 to the internet, and then we can check to see if we need to do a firmware upgrade. So for now, let's just apply changes. The configuration has been applied successfully, so let's go ahead and reboot the device. And are you sure you want to reboot? And yes, I am sure. Okay, the router has been rebooted. I have my computer plugged into ETH1, so I moved it from ETH0 over to ETH1 onto the LAN, and I plugged a cable into ETH0 and then out to the internet, which for now is just plugged into a switch on my main network. As you can see on the screen, I've changed my network adapter to obtain an address using DHCP, and I've received an address from the EdgeRouter of 192.168.1.38. So we're going to close this window, and we're going to go ahead and log into the router using the new account that we created during the setup process. So the username is Tony, and the password that we created in that process, and we successfully logged in. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at what's going on. So we have our internet on ETH0, and you can see we're just getting a local private IP address again because it's just plugged into the switch on my network. Here's the LAN at 192.168.1.1, and then here's the secondary LAN on ETH2 at 192.168.2.1. If we take a look over at the firewall tab, you can see that the setup wizard created firewall rules for WAN in and WAN local. If we come over to the NAT tab, you can see that the wizard set up the masquerade rule for the WAN, which allows all of the local clients behind the router on the LAN to masquerade using an IP address in the subnet 192.168.1.0. If we come over to the services tab, here are the two DHCP servers set up by the setup wizard for LAN 1, 192.168.1.0/24, and on LAN 2, 192.168.2.0/24. If we click in under the Actions tab to view the leases, we can see here that the pool size is 206. It's not showing anything leased, but it should at least have one address that should be my computer. And right now we don't have any static addresses. Let's go to the details. On this screen, you can change your DHCP pool start and end range, but for right now, we'll leave it set to the default 192.168.1.38 for the start range and 192.168.1.243 for the ending range. And we can add a public IP here and go ahead and click save. Let's come down to the system tab. Here we can give the device a host name, so we'll call it home router. I guess it doesn't like the underscore. There you go. We're going to give it a system name server. We can add a second one if we want. Then let's look around and see what else we have. We can give it a domain name if we have. NTP, we could leave it set to automatically update. SSH is enabled. Here's where we would connect it to UNMS, and maybe I'll do that in another video. UBNT discovery is enabled. We can send logs out to a remote server, and I believe I did a video on that previously. You can back up your configuration here and keep a file stored locally on your computer, which is always a good idea. And then if you ever have any issues, you can restore here by uploading one of your saved backup files. You can restart the device. And then here is very important. If you ever have issues where you need to contact UBNT support, you can download the support file and send it to them by just clicking here. Obviously, we're going to save our changes. Here we can set the device back to its default stage. We can also shut the device down. And here is where you can update the firmware. So now looking up at the top here, the EdgeRouter 6P is running version 1.10.7. So let's go out to UBNT's website and see if there's a newer version, which I believe there is. So we're going to click on EdgeMax. We're going to come over and select the device that we want to update, in this case, the EdgeRouter 6P. And then we can see now the latest firmware in the version 1 series is version 1.10.11. So let's go ahead and click here to download. And we're going to accept the agreement. We're going to go ahead and click on download the file. Okay, let's hop back over to the EdgeRouter. And let's click on upload file. And now we're just going to search the downloads folder for the file that we just downloaded from UB&T's website. And here it is. It's downloaded today at 11:48. So that's the file that we want. We're going to go ahead and click open. And now you can see here that the little icon is spinning. It's in the process of uploading. If the file uploads successfully, we should be prompted to reboot the router. In order for your changes to take effect, you will have to reboot your device. So let's go ahead and click reboot. And are you sure? Yes. And now the system is in the process of rebooting. I'll be back once the unit is back up online. Okay guys, I started a ping so that we know when the router's back up online. And there we go. Okay, so we can close this. I should be able to come back up to here and bring up the connection non-private page again. Let's go ahead and click advanced. Let's proceed to the router. And we're going to click and log in with our username and password. Now we're going to check the firmware version here, and we've been upgraded to version 1.10.11. Now on the EdgeRouter X SFP, when I updated to version 1.10.11, when I logged into the command line, I also noticed that there was an upgrade for the bootloader image. So let's log into the CLI here and just double check to see if that update is available for the EdgeRouter 6P as well. So let's come up to here to the CLI tab. And let's log into the CLI, the built-in CLI of the EdgeRouter. So username Tony, password, let's try that one more time. There we go. Okay. So now in green, you can see it says boot image can be upgraded to version, and then it gives the version number. Run add system boot -image to upgrade the boot image. So we'll do that now. And then we just get the warning and are asking us if we're sure we want to replace the old version with the new, and we're going to say yes and hit enter. And now it's in the upgrade process. The upgrade of the boot image has completed. If we hop over and take a look at the EdgeRouter help document on how to update the bootloader, we're not going to go through this, but I just want to explain what the bootloader does and why you should update it. The EdgeRouter bootloader controls functions such as the LED boot behavior, configuration driver loading, and much more. On most EdgeRouter models, the bootloader version is not updated automatically with a firmware upgrade and must be updated manually. And I just bring this to your attention because I recently had a viewer ask me about this. They weren't sure what it meant to update the boot image, and they were concerned that it would bring the firmware version from version 1.10.11 up to version 2.0. Whatever, I think 8 is the latest, but don't quote me on that. So that's why I wanted to bring this to your attention. It does not upgrade the firmware. It does, however, upgrade the boot image that controls many of the basic startup options. So the EdgeRouter 6P is going to end up being my daily driver, replacing the EdgeRouter X SFP, which I've had in production for about 4 years now. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to check out some of my other videos up above. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share. And thank you guys for using those Amazon affiliate links. I know they don't change your price, but they do help out the channel. My name is Tony with Quick Tech Solutions. As always, please stay safe. We'll see you next time.